Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of My Darkest Hour. It's good to see you guys on this wonderful evening. Hope you guys had a great holiday, whatever you guys did. Hope you guys had a lot of good time doing it. A lot of different celebrations happening out there, which is absolutely amazing. A lot of good vibes. Got to spend some time with some friends over the weekend. Did a little ghost hunting. It was pretty casual. Good stuff. Good place. You guys heard of the Roosevelt? That was always nice. If you're ever in Hollywood, make sure you go check it out. Uh, Prices for rooms can be a little bit steep, but hey, go there with friends. Whatever. Yeah, everybody puts in $100. You got an awesome place to investigate. So anyway, moving right along. As long as I've been doing this show, I've been doing it for many years now, and a lot of you guys who follow me know the stuff that I'm into. One of the guests that I'm really excited about having on the show is a good friend, Father Sebastiaan van Houten. You guys know him. I talk about him with the whole vampire culture that you guys know that is a big part of my life, my big part of my persona. So I was really happy to get to know him and become friends with him over the years. It's been great. You guys seen pictures of the vampire balls that he does, which is just second to none. I mean, the best times, the best people. It's just time and time again. So if one's coming to your town, and they're all over the country and even in Europe, if you guys see one coming, check it out. Go there. Be a part of it. If you love that culture, you're absolutely going to fall in love with everything that Father Sebastiaan does do. And there's many things about him. He's not just a one type of person. He is a legendary fangsmith. He is Impresario. He is an incredible author, diving into some of the different types of the philosophies behind the vampire culture, and kind of bringing a definition to the world, the masses, and it's really incredible. The books that he writes about, I definitely recommend you guys checking out. Obviously, there's the Black Veils that I talk about a lot. Um, he does have some new books coming out that we'll get into if he wants to talk a little bit about that. Um, if you guys are looking to get professional fangs going, you can't beat what he does. He is the best at it. You can go online. You can go to fathersebastiaan.com and see what it's really all about and find out more about him. And you can contact him directly there as well. Besides all of that, you guys know that I'm a teacher for the University of Magicus. He is one of the head professors there as well, taking classes, showing classes, talking about the history, talking about the different types of things for the vampire culture. So I definitely recommend checking it out. I will put some links in the comments below, but I don't want to waste any more time. Let's go ahead and bring Father Sebastiaan onto the show. Sebastiaan, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Thanks for that introduction. That was very kind of you.
Oh, no problem. And I said it like I meant it, man, because that's what I do. I'm very much into this whole culture, and finding you and becoming part of your world was really huge for me. I'm like, wow, this is everything I've been looking for. So fantastic. And thanks for coming on the show, of course.
My pleasure. So, what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about you. Let's
Well,
talk about the early stages of Father Sebastiaan. What got you started and motivated to do the things you do? And we're talking about a couple of things here. Obviously, you're a master fangsmith, which is incredible. I have my fangs, which I love very much that you made me. But let's talk about where you were at that point when you decided this was kind of the culture you're looking at getting involved
well, it kind of came to me. I didn't come to it. And the first time I heard about vampires, my mother and I were in our kitchen, and she was telling me about. My mom was always into the paranormal. She's a latent psychic. She just passed away last December, sadly.
in.
But
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, it's rough time, man. But gotta love your mom. and appreciate every moment you have with her. I knew she was going to pass away, so I went down to Florida 6 times last year to see her, and
Oh wow.
I don't regret one moment of it. I she uh she died very peacefully, and I'm very, very happy that I got to spend time with her and see her for Thanksgiving.
That's
So
beautiful.
I'm not as traumatized as some people that, so make sure you give your parents and your loved ones every ounce of love you can. Her last words out of her mouth were, "Trump's going to win the election." And, and,
That's funny.
I hope her wish doesn't come true, but we'll see.
I don't know. At this point, I'm ready to settle for anybody who knows what they're doing and moving forward. So
Yeah. Right. So I was in my kitchen. I think I was 14, and my mom was like, "Tom Cruise is losing weight to be in a movie with Brad Pitt about vampires, and it's written by a woman named Anne Rice."
that's funny.
And the light went off, and
And then what'd you say when she told you that?
I read Interview. I didn't read Interview with the Vampire first. I read Vampire Lestat first.
Oh, okay.
I love Lestat. He is my hero. He is my main man. Tom Cruise did not do a very good French guy.
No,
But the movie was amazing, and uh, it led me to vampires.
that's a good one. You know, we always talk about vampires, and now unfortunately, it's always about Twilight. It's
No,
like,
it's
wait,
not about
hold up.
Twilight.
My vampires don't glisten. I'm sorry, they're not sparkly.
Stop knocking Twilight. Twilight are Mormon vampires. It just shows the diversity of the vampire world.
Okay, I'm more Lost Boys.
I am Lost Boys too, but I actually saw Lost Boys as a kid. So when I was 14, I went back and watched it. And my mom was like, "You shouldn't be watching this, but we love horror movies in this family, so let's watch it." And I saw it again, and I sucked in everything vampire I could from that point on. But when really, really got me going was when I was 18, my 18th birthday. My girlfriend Dawn, who was my witchy vampire fairy werewolf girlfriend, um, she was like, "I want to be a vampire for our prom," and I was like, "All right." So I went to my grandfather, who was a dentist, and I said, "Can you make me fangs?" And he said, "Fuck you." And my aunt eventually found me a dentist that could teach me how to do it. But I managed to find at a gaming convention. I got into Vampire the Masquerade subculture, looking for vampires. I was always looking for vampires. Okay, since I heard about Tom Cruise, and I was just obsessed with vampires. And that obsession has become more and more a part of my life as I grow older. And I got involved in the vampire subculture by getting a pair of fangs from this guy named Gregor with my girlfriend Dawn on the third of November, 1993. And he retired right then after making fangs. So I was involved in the vampire LARPs, the Vampire the Masquerade LARPs, and I was loving it. I was loving the role playing game. But the thing is that I wanted something more. And my girlfriend went to me, and she said, "I want to go to Limelight in New York." And that was the time of Michael Alec and the Club Kids. And I got involved in the Vampire LARPs, and I got involved in Limelight. I started making fangs. So I started making fangs because I was working in a shoe store called Wild Pears in Bridgewater Commons Mall in Bridgewater, New Jersey, when I was 17. And I wasn't old enough to go out to the nightclubs. So my one night, this guy named Jay Velge came into the shop, into the store, and I would sell shoes to strippers and Doc Martens and cool shoes. And Wild Pear was like 3 long-haired metalhead boys and 4 of us run by our captain, Gay Lou. and Lou was like this gay, flamboyant, Versace wearing gay man who had a big mustache, and he was awesome. And he was our captain, and we had Sean, Paul, Tommy, and Sebastian as the 4 metalheads, and all the strippers loved to come to play with our hair and hang out with us. And I wore my fangs all the time, and everybody was asking me where I got the fangs. And I went to my prom with fangs on. I got a top hat. I got a red Firebird, and I put Dawn in the car, and she was like my first vampire girlfriend. And we went to the prom together as vampires. I wish I had pictures, man. I don't know,
man.
But then we went into the vampire LARPs in New York, and it was so much fun playing these games because you got in costume, you were in a cool venue. We were at the club called The Bank, and this guy named Andrew ran a company called production troupe called Inquisition Inc. INK. And we played the vampire LARPs for 2 or 3 years. And I was looking for real vampires because I thought they would be hiding. So Vampire the Masquerade is a universe, which I call the 3rd greatest vampire universe. And the first, of course, is Dracula. The second is Interview with the Vampire and the Vampire Chronicles. And the third, which brings it all together in 1991, was Vampire the Masquerade. And the Vampire the Masquerade was really cool because it was about a universe of vampires that lived in cities, and they had different clans of vampires, and each clan was like a character class from Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Okay, so you had the Tremere, which were the sorcerers. You had the Gangrel, which were the hippie vampires. You had the Malkavians, which were crazy. You had the Ventru, which were the businessmen and dilettantes. You had the Bruja, which were the warriors, and the Toreador, which were the artists. And what was really unique about this was that girls were playing role-playing games.
That's
Could
cool.
you believe that? A girl playing a role-playing game. Okay. Before this, Vampire the Masquerade, if a girl played a role-playing game, her social life would be over.
Yeah, she'd be a nerd, of course. It was like the rest of us.
And the jocks would beat her up, and when there was girls playing a vampire game, and it was almost 50-50, okay, it was a unique experience. And I was like, this is awesome. I love girls. Okay, I want to see girls getting into my hobbies and playing vampires and dressing up and being awesome. And it was the first role-playing game where there was a 50-50 girl-boy ratio.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, what other games do that? You know, they don't bring people together like that.
Well, now they do. Dungeons and Dragons, there's whole games of girls. I think that it's awesome that the hobby has been open to ladies. But Vampire the Masquerade in 1991 introduced not only live role-playing to the world, okay, it also introduced live role-playing the girls, and costuming. The costumes were awesome, and a lot of actors could get into this because you could really play out the characters. And we were in this old bank nightclub with these beautiful vaulted basement ceilings, and the prince was named Vega, and the Vampire the Masquerade brought the vampire subculture together. And from 91 to 2000 and about 2000, the vampire LARPs are still around and they're really cool. But that was the heyday of Vampire the Masquerade. And it really brought the vampire, it really set the foundations for a vampire subculture. But eventually my girlfriend went to me and she goes, Sebastian, my name is Luciana, and I don't want to do math in a nightclub. I want to drink, dress up, and go by a cool name and get seduced by you because you're my boyfriend. Okay. And to tell you the truth, the LARPers were like really not into buying fangs. So what I did was I started making a family tree of my fang clients, and I took some of the elements of the LARP and I made it a lifestyle. And I started a nightclub called Long Black Veil and the Vampire Lounge. But the most important thing was, as I started making fangs, I started getting into the subculture of the vampires in New York. And around 1995 was the pivotal year for vampires. Okay, Vampire the Masquerade was at its height. It was killing it. The Vampire Theater in New York was Tony Sokol's Vampire Theater was huge. The Limelight was at its height, the old nightclub. And I was running vampire LARPs in the back rooms of these nightclubs. And I started making fangs by sitting my mom down on Christmas Day, 1994. I said, Mom, I can't give you a Christmas present, but I'm going to make you fangs. She was like, awesome. Let's do it. So I made her a pair of fangs. And that was my first fang client, was my mother.
How cool is that?
Yeah, very much Lestat and Gabrielle.
Nice.
So I proceeded in 1995 as the predominant fangsmith in New York. And I set myself up at a tattoo studio on St. Mark's Place called Andromeda Body Piercing. And I was so successful making fangs and killing it. I was killing it. I was having so much fun meeting people and stuff like that. I slowly started getting away from the LARPs because the LARPers weren't into, for some reason, they weren't buying fangs. And you got to go where your customers go. So I went into the body mod scene. I went into the nightclub scene. And the nightclub scene was perfect because everybody used pseudonyms. You know, like Rockin' Johnny and Johnny Tingle and Johnny this and Johnny that, or
descriptive names.
Yeah, they had club names. So the Vampire LARP evolved into a lifestyle. And it's exploded since then. But on June of 1995, I went to the Dark Shadows Festival to represent a thing called the Vampire Access Line. And they said if I brought some stuff there, okay, I like some of their books and whatnot, and put it out, I could make fangs there because their leader died, a guy named Stephen Lessing. And I had 3 amazing clients. The first guy was a guy named Neil, who was a Catholic priest. It was at the Dark Shadows Festival in June of 1995. And then I had a rock and roll guy, all right, named Miguel, came and got fangs. He kind of looked like the Underkeeper from WWE. And then Sandy sat down. She was a girl about 27 years old. I was 19 at the time, 1920. And Sandy sat down and she changed my life. Sandy was wearing a Wednesday Adam dress. She always known for wearing Wednesday Addams dresses. Cool. And she was stunning, but it was special. Do you know why?
Why?
Because she was the publicist for Typo Negative.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that's my favorite band, so that's cool.
Yeah. And she lived in LA and she was the publicist for Typo Negative and Roadrunner Records. And she and I hit it off and we had a great weekend. And I went to her and she's like, Sebastiaan, do you want to come to the Anne Rice Memnock Ball with me in New Orleans on Halloween? And this was the year after Interviewer with the Vampire came out, and vampires were at their height. Okay. And what was really cool about it is it was fresh. It was new. There wasn't any definitions. There was Vampire the Masquerade was huge. Interview with the Vampire was huge. Bram Stoker's Dracula has been out for 3 years. Lost Boys was still fresh in the memory of everybody. Okay. And New Orleans was not identified as a vampire city, but this is the year it crossed over. And We went to New Orleans, and I had the weekend of my life. So I got there. I didn't see Sandy all for between the time that I went to the time that I went. I left her at the Dark Shadows Festival in New York, and then we kept in touch a little bit. But we met up at a bed and breakfast near the. You remember Interview with the Vampire, the movie, at the end where he saw Superman in that theater? Well, that theater was right around the corner from my bed and breakfast.
Oh, cool.
It was like right in the Garden District under a bridge. It was really freaking cool. And I met Sandy there, and then Sandy and I took a car. The redhead lady that ran the Airbnb, not Airbnb, B&B, brought us down to Coops, and I went and had alligator. And then the next day was the Anne Rice ball. And I had never seen Anne Rice before, but I read Vampire Lestat. I wasn't interested in Interview with the Vampire. Louis is just not an interest to me. Lestat is my man. And I got all dressed up and with a top hat and a velvet coat. And I was like, fuck, I shouldn't have worn this velvet coat. It's so hot here. And Sandy and I went to the Memnock ball. And we got outside of, she had it in the Garden District at St. Elizabeth's Orphanage, which was this huge orphanage that she had bought and put her doll collection in and was hosting events in. Wow. And there was these gates out front, and they had brick pillars with like old gas lights on the top of them. And all our fans were waiting outside about 7:00, and it was still daylight out. And all you heard was, "Oh my God, look!" And a horse-drawn hearse came around the corner, and ushers came out and pushed everybody away from the gates. And they took 2 coffins out, and they propped them up against the gates. And Anne Rice popped out of one of the coffins.
Nice.
And Kirsten Dunst came out.
Who was in the other coffin?
Kirsten Dunst. Claudia. You know, did we freeze?
No, you're back.
Oh, okay. Kirsten Dunst came out of the second coffin, and the audience went nuts. She was wearing the dress she died in the Interview with the Vampire. But she was 3 years older, and she was much more a woman. So they had to adjust it. So she didn't look like a little girl anymore. She was like 14 or 15. And so they greeted every person that walked through that gate out of it, and they sat in a carriage, and then you walk through Anne Rice's doll collection, and then the night was like the most amazing night I've ever seen. And it spoiled me. I can never recreate that experience.
That's an amazing experience. I mean, that's like a dream come true kind of scenario.
Yeah, it was a vampire ball from my deepest dreams. So I wanted to bring that to New York. So I went back to New York, and I threw the first Endless Night Vampire Ball called the New York Vampire Ball. And I started making fangs, and it took off. And I got to do, I stopped making LARPs about 1996. I love LARPing. LARPing's a really cool hobby. It's really fun, but it wasn't really as immersive as I had hoped. And I was more into the vampire lifestyle because of my fan clients. It was more my thing. And I started making fangs out of a Halloween store on 4th Avenue, and it exploded. But what happened was a woman who was investigating the Village Voice, working for the Village Voice, was investigating vampires. Her name was Susan Walsh. And she disappeared right before my 3rd vampire ball in New York in 1996. And the media went nuts. And they thought she disappeared looking for the vampires. And the media came down, and I got a bunch of press from it for my vampire events.
I think I remember that story. Didn't she was supposed to be some documentary reporter and stuff, and she was going into like different sects and stuff looking for different types of vampires?
Yeah, and she disappeared like right before my 2nd or my 3rd vampire ball. I think she came to my first one and my second one, but she disappeared, and we were like trying to find out what happened to her. And to this day, no one knows.
She got turned.
She found the real vampires.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You never know, man. I mean, the stories of vampires have been around since the beginning of time. So
Absolutely.
you never
Well, for me,
know.
at the beginning of the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's amazing. I mean, going from starting to do the fangs right into the Anne Rice ball and everything, just seeing all that, that's really gotta make an impression on you. And obviously, you went back to New York and started doing the vampire balls,
Yeah.
which is huge. You know, I think those gatherings are amazing, and it really brings a lot of people together, whether they're lifestyleists or they're just weekend warriors that just love to dress up and go out and cosplay. I mean, it just brings that opportunity for people to get together. It's huge.
Yeah, and one thing that I find really funny is that the vampire subculture has so many diverse uh types of people that are drawn to the vampire genre. And I love all of them. I've been a lifestyler, I've been a role player, I've been a LARPer, I've been a sang vamp, psy vamp, living vamp, vampire witch. I've done it all. And I love the vampire archetype. It really, really fits me. It makes me feel empowered, and it's really something that I identified with right as I turned 19.
That's awesome. And to have parents, your mom, to sit there and inspire you to do that as well. A lot
Yeah,
of people are like, why are you worrying about that? You should be working on your education right now and think about your future. It's like, no, I want to enjoy my life right now. This is what we're doing.
exactly. And I got into the witchcraft community through it. I got into the occult community. I got into the BDSM community. I got into the club scene. I met amazing people all over the world, and I got to change people's lives every time I make a pair of fangs.
That's awesome. It's this kind of stuff I wish happened earlier. Back when I was doing this kind of stuff, it was like there were different scenes. Some of there's goths and the other kind of stuff, but they were like individual little tribes here and there. Nobody really kind of got together as a group and said, "Hey, this is what we're all doing." Everyone was kind of doing their own thing here and there in the dark clubs back in the day.
Absolutely. And I've I've got lifelong friends from it.
That's awesome. Bringing people together. That's the number one thing. And I see a lot of that at your vampire balls because when you start going to one and then you go to the next one, it's like it's not like I'm going to this party thing. All of a sudden it's, hey, here's my family again. Oh my God, I haven't seen you in 6 months or whatever. And look at this, and talking about everyone just gets together and has this. Now we have not just a vampire subculture, we have an entire community that's coming together as a family. And I think that's awesome. But just because I've been hanging out with you for the past few years, I've met a lot of amazing people that I talk to all the time now, which is, I think, is incredible.
Yeah, and one thing that I really pride myself on is good quality people. And I found that there's so many amazing people in my circle, and I've made lifelong friends from it.
Yeah, that's very important. And that's awesome. And the people that you get to perform at some of these events are absolutely incredible because you'll have fire dancers, there's snake dancers. I think the last time there was some kind of not like trapeze artists, but almost like carnival sideshow activities, which bring a lot of the different cultures from different areas together as well.
Yeah, the motto of the Endless Night Ball, Endless Night actually, the event came from something that a lot of people don't understand. When I was a kid, my first CD when I was 9 years old that I pulled out of my dad's rack was the Doors' Greatest Hits. And Ages of Argyles of Innocence, the poem by William Blake is where doors of perception are always open. Well, a couple lines down is another line. Some are born to sweet delight, others are born to endless night.
That's awesome.
So the endless night is actually a Doors reference.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Jim Morrison, a great vampire right there. Whole personality.
Oh, yeah. And he had a pagan wedding and everything.
That's cool.
So tell me about your vampire journey.
Well, growing up as a kid, we all go through these phases where we go through the whole monster era thing and stuff like that. And I have this connection with Dracula, the vampire. And everyone's like, oh, monsters, the mummy and the werewolf and the vampire. And it's like, well, I get it. He's seen as a monster, but he's not really a monster. He's deep, passionate about everything that he had going on in his life. True love. It's like, it's not just a horror story. It's one of the greatest, Bram Stoker's Dracula, of course, is one of the greatest love stories of all time. I mean, for even the part where Gary Oldman says, I have crossed oceans of time to find you. I mean, dude, that's rad. You say that to a chick, Jesus is going to melt. But the passion of it, refusing to die. I refuse to die because I've been cheated. I'm going to spend my life. I'm going to find her and I will be with her. That is amazing, and the bravery and the things that he had to do. I just saw a lot of that and I was inspired by that. It's like, man, I want to be more like that person. Everyone's like, oh, monster. It's like, no, you're looking at the whole story wrong. You're looking at it wrong. There's more to it. So, and of course, my favorite color is black. I've always been into the dark stuff. Growing up as a kid, I was very fortunate to have a mother who was into the magic arts and stuff. So I grew up in that environment really early, and I felt the most comfortable in that style. Everyone goes, "Oh, it's so dark and eerie. Don't you feel weird?" It's like, no, I feel at home. I'm comfortable in my cave. Because my room, I would actually paint it like gray walls and stuff, and I would have satin sheets and leather curtains, and I've always had that. My friends always thought I was weird. I was the weird, paranormal, ghosty vampire guy, but that was just me, and I accepted it. So, growing up in that culture, obviously I got into the goth stuff as well. We used to listen to a lot of death rock, and I would try to incorporate that into a lot of my music and stuff that I've recorded over the years. And I'm currently in a heavy metal band that's along the same way. It's very vampire-esque.
What's the band called?
The band is called Lucedio.
What does that mean?
That means the light of God.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And my vampire name, for the people who know me for years, know me as Lucedio Apollyon.
Lucedio Apollyon?
Lucedio Apollyon. That means the light of God and destroyer of worlds.
It's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, Isaac asked me about that one night. So, what's your vampire name? Lucedio Apollyon. Is like, damn, that's a good one. I'm like, yeah.
Why don't we use that?
Yeah, I'm all about it. That's my persona. In my band, Lucedio, I'm the lead singer and the lead guitar player. I do this whole theatrical thing when we're playing live. It's pretty cool.
Can you play some of your music for me?
Yeah, I could probably play something on here. You ready?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find a quick clip. It's pretty brutal stuff, though. Let's see if it plays. Do you hear it?
Yeah, absolutely.
For those of you who are out there, you're getting the first cut off the new album.
How many albums do you have?
This is the first one that we're working on.
Are you the singer?
I am the singer. I do Mongolian throat singing in this song even.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm part Mongolian and we didn't know I can do it, so I was trying to hit a low note. I'm like, dude, that sounds crazy. I'm like,
and I thought you were Italian the whole time. Come on, man. So, what's your Mongolian heritage? Keep the music going, man. Let's keep it going. Let's play the music while we talk.
Heavy metal thunder screaming through the night, awakening to the horror in the mind. Yeah. Yep, I'm Mongolian throat singing right there.
Are we on Zoom or StreamYard? Fucking awesome music, man. I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
What inspires lyrics?
We start a new tour in July, so it's going to be exciting.
Where are you going to tour?
West Coast, and we got a few dates on the East, and then we're just going to try to do some stuff in Texas. We were asked to go to Holland and play El Dorado, but we're not going to be able to do it in time, so unfortunately we'll have to go next year.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, El Dorado is an amazing festival.
Next year, my friend.
What's that?
Next year, my friend.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. We all dress up all crazy and we look all spooky and look like I'm like torturing people and stuff, but it's just fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So a lot of people ask me where to start with the vampire community.
Yes.
All right. And I say start with this. This is Black Veils, my main book. 666 edition. 888 edition.
That is super awesome. And you know what's funny is a lot of people ask me about that same question. How do they get involved with the whole vampire thing? And I tell them the same exact thing. You need to read Black Veils. They're like, what?
Yeah, Black Veils.
It's the book.
I want to see something. Amazon.com. You can get on Amazon an audiobook.
Can you get it directly from your website?
Yeah, but I suggest going to Amazon and buying it.
Now, are they coming directly from you? Are you signing them as you're shipping them out?
If you go to vamporium.shop, that's where you can find all the merch for Endless Night and Father Sebastiaan.
Perfect. Vamporium.com.
.shop.
Vamporium.shop.
Yeah, over the next 2 months, I'm merging all my websites together into one website. It'll be at endlessnight.com.
Vamporium.shop. Endless Night. Very cool. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
And that is a portal for all my stuff. So you can find all the events there, vamporium.shop.
Oh, you can get all the onks and everything there. That's awesome.
Yeah, we just got this new onk. This is one that I wanted to give you on Saturday, but I left it at my house, sadly.
What?
Yeah. So at Babylon, I'll have to hook you up.
Cool.
This is a special edition. So the Legacy onk represents the Black Veils. Man, this onk isn't cooperating. But this is the onk that I just got in.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really nice. This is a 3rd edition onk. And then I have the 1st edition onks that are only available to my fan clients.
That's cool. This is the latest edition, right?
Yeah, this is the latest edition. This is something that I just had made. These are not silver, but we do have them in silver. I'm trying to untie this.
Isn't silver bad for vampires?
No, actually, silver is the preferred color for vampires. That's a mythology. There's a lot of myths out there. Most people that love vampires prefer silver. There's a little bit of gold in there. People that like gold.
I'm a more a silver and black kind of guy.
Yeah, silver seems to be the preferred metal for vampires. So here it is. This is your Ankh.
Wow, look at that.
It's numbered on the back. And there's only 666 of this edition.
That's awesome. I can't wait. I'll wear that with pride and honor.
Absolutely, man. That'd be great. So, we can't do any vampire interview without the top 10 vampire movies.
Okay, and for those of you guys who follow me, you guys know that I'm all about the vampire movies. I even do movie reviews weekly on vampire films. So cool.
Okay.
Let's talk about that.
So let's start with number 10. What do you think number 10 is?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. There's so many great classics. Fearless Vampire Killers. With Sharon Tate. Really?
Yep.
It's old school. It's funny. My dear friend Sharon Tate is in it. It's a Roman Polanski film. It ended up being pretty cool.
Okay.
But there's this one movie that really stands out to me, and it's called Son of Dracula. And it's not the one that came out in the 40s. This one came out in the 60s. Now, what's interesting about it, it's about this vampire who's the son of another vampire, and he's a rock star, and he's got this album and he's on tour, and they're showing him playing live, which I think Anne Rice got the story for Lestat from, the Townsend version, because, he's the rock star and he's defying everything. And this is what this story is kind of about. But it was a vampire movie that was made by the Beatles, Apple Records.
Oh, really?
Yes. And the vampire is something Nelson. He's like a famous star. He wrote that song All By Myself, that song from the 70s.
Yeah,
he wrote that for that vampire film because he was dying all by himself in this scene. But when they showed him playing live, his band is Leon Russell, Peter Frampton, John Bonham, Keith Moon, and a couple of other famous rock stars from the 70s. They're all in his nightclub band. And I just thought it was really cool. He's like rocking out and headbanging and just being this vampire cool dude. So I tell a lot of people about that because it's such a cult classic. No one really knows about it. But since I discovered it, I want people to go, hey, man, check it out. This is pretty cool. Keith Moon as a vampire, I mean, that's rad.
Well, I put my top 10 list together. You want my top 10 list?
I do.
Okay, number 10 is Queen of the Damned.
Okay.
Number 9 is Let the Right One In.
Okay.
Number 8 is The Hunger.
Yes, definitely.
Number 7 is What We Do in the Shadows.
God, I love that show.
I'm talking about the movie.
Yes, of course.
Number 6 is Underworld.
Yeah, for sure.
Number 5 is Lost Boys. Even though that's my favorite movie, I'm talking about the top 10 vampire movies.
Yes, of all time.
Number 3 is Only Lovers Left Alive. Number 2 is Dracula. Number 1 is Interview with the Vampire.
Nice.
What's your top 10?
Those are definitely up there. The Hunger is definitely up there with me. I mean, David Bowie's awesome. The opening scene where it's Bauhaus playing in the club. I mean, wow, how cool is that? Lost Boys is definitely huge with me. Underworld, I just love that whole mix of the vampire and the Lycan, the way things are happening there. Blade. I'm a big Blade guy. I know people talk a lot of smack about Wesley Snipes and everything and whatever. I don't know
What?
him personally. People talk
What?
because he's hard to work with on set. I know people that work with him saying, "Wow, he's just kind of a trippy dude." But his performance and just the way he presents himself in a movie I can't imagine anybody else being Blade except for him.
Well, who's the new guy that's going to be Blade?
Oh, some younger guy, and I'm not sure his name yet, but they showed us something about him. I'm like, oh, great.
I think he's going to do great because I saw him in what was that movie he was in? He was a black musician, and he had a white driver. Can't remember.
But that's cool. Yeah, I like those movies. Obviously, I'm big on Bram Stoker's Dracula. A lot of great things in that movie. I mean, Gary Oldman's performance is just like, wow. The way he dresses in that movie.
For Interview with the Vampire and Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah. I mean, just the fashion in there looks so great. It's like, dude, where do you get those glasses from? How cool is that guy right now? Yeah, definitely all those. I'm huge in all of those. I mean, there's some other great films out there. I mean, I used to like Salem's Lot and everything, but those were cult classic stuff, and it didn't fare very well for the vampire itself. So
yeah. But you know what is honestly my secret passionate movie?
What?
Is Eddie Murphy as in Vampire Brooklyn.
Well, that is pretty funny.
Well, it's also funny, but it's also very deep. Go watch it again, and you'll find it. Eddie Murphy does a really, really good vampire in that.
Cool. Yeah, that's coming up on my list of things I have to watch pretty soon. Because right now I'm into the 80s vampire films.
Okay.
Cool. So I'll watch it and then we'll talk about that and be like, yo, dude, that one scene, that's really cool.
But Bram Stoker's Dracula and Interview with the Vampire are definitely, in my opinion, the top two.
Yes. And Twilight's not in my top 10. Not that I hate it. I used to talk a lot of smack about it because it was a girly kind of vampire film. But then I watched it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. It was just different than the whole Anne Rice vampire stuff.
Well, I think that we're on top of it. Now, who's your favorite vampire persona?
Gary Oldman's was pretty good. What's that other movie? The other guy in that other movie, I, Vampire, where he's like the warlord and he does his rituals to protect his people. That's pretty good too.
I think that was Dracula.
Could be. But this was like where he goes into this cave and all these weird things are happening and everyone's running away from him.
Oh,
I forgot the name of it though. That sucks. It's a 90s one. It's coming up too.
Yeah.
And of course, I like all the Underworld stuff.
Underworld was pretty good. I like that, but that was a copy of Vampire the Masquerade.
Yes. But that just seems like, for me, that would be my environment. All these long-haired rocker-looking dudes, and everyone's wearing leather and stuff, and it's nighttime and in the streets. It's like, it just seems like where I would be.
I particularly enjoy, if Vampire the Masquerade could do a TV show, that would be awesome. That would be wicked. But sadly, I don't think that's going to happen.
A TV show? That'd be interesting.
Do you know White Wolf sued Universal for Underworld?
No.
White Wolf's the publisher of Vampire the Masquerade.
Because the story is so close. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah, werewolves. And werewolves versus vampires. There's a documentary called World of Darkness that I was in. and it showed the history of the Vampire the Masquerade game, and you can get it on Amazon. And I got to say the line that I've been saying for years on the record on Vampire the Masquerade. It was vampires and werewolves as arch enemies came from Vampire the Masquerade in the World of Darkness. It was an invention of that universe because Vampire the Masquerade took all the different vampire genres together and put them in the same universe.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, and that really, you can see Blade, Twilight, True Blood. Blade copied a lot of Vampire the Masquerade with the different houses.
The House of Erebus?
Well, there was the House of Chichon and the House of this and the House of that. There was 12 houses in there.
Yes, but there's only 3 vampire tribes because 2 of the ones that sit on the council were twins.
Oh.
The girls.
Yes. And I love Blade because it really hit the club scene.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, what's funny is I used to run a party in New York called Long Black Veil in the Vampire Lounge, and it was in the meatpacking district. And at night, when we would leave the club, we'd have to push cow carcasses aside. I'm curious if the Blade producers saw that.
Meat packing. There's going to be a lot of meat in those warehouses. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, we'd have to walk through blood to get to our taxis. It's freaking crazy.
That's awesome, though, man. Talk about realism.
Yeah. The 90s were a golden age for vampires.
Absolutely. Loved it. I'm just glad that more things are happening with it instead of it just going back underground.
Yeah, it comes and goes. They're redoing Twilight from what I heard. I hope they have fangs this time.
Yeah. Hopefully. I mean, I get it. The vampire guy versus the werewolf guy, and all the chicks are into these dudes, and I get it. But, you know, I want some more, you know, action, some more brutality. That's why I like Underworld. There's a war going on. They're fighting, and they're trying to do this or that.
You know? Yeah, the hybrid vampire was not done. The hybrid werewolf vampire, I didn't think was done very well.
Oh, what is that? Number 2? Is that where they have the kid?
1.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. A vampiric werewolf in Vampire the Masquerade is a werewolf that got turned into a vampire, and they usually die, but they're called abominations, and they're completely like insanely powerful creatures.
Well, isn't that what Victor and Underworld called him? And their child an abomination.
Yeah, that's why that's why White will sue Universal.
Yeah, that's too close. You can't be using text like that. That's funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
So what else do we have to talk about?
What's new with you? You got any new books coming out? Anything new you want to talk about?
Yeah, my memoirs is coming out. The Vampire Sebastiaan. It's written by a woman named Heather Joseph Witham, and she is a doctor at PhD of mythology at Otis College. And we just finished the first manuscript, and it's coming out on my birthday next year. And you can pre-order it from Vamporium.
That's awesome.
I'm excited.
Well, again, that's Vamporium, VAMPORIUM.shop, and that'll bring you up to everything you can find here.
Yeah, and we're gonna merge that with endlessnight.com. So keep an eye out for it and check it out, guys.
That's gonna be awesome. And let us know when it comes out. Then I'll have you back on the show, and we'll do a recap of the new book.
Well, you got to read it first.
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to ask you questions if I don't read it.
Awesome.
I hate interviews like that. It's like, yeah, you got the new thing out. Well, tell me all about it. Well, did you read it? It's like, no. It's like, really? Cool. Do some work and then come ask me questions.
The cool thing is it's my history of the 90s.
Okay, cool.
So it's part 1 of a 3-part series.
And that covers the whole beginning of everything you put together.
Birth.
Nice.
Cool.
I wonder who that's going to inspire. Who the next people to carry on that torch. That'll be cool.
Well, I hope to be immortal for this one.
Absolutely. All right, so we got a couple of minutes. We got 4 minutes left here, coming close to the end. And, an hour goes by so fast, it's really tough. For those who want to reach out and ask you questions regarding everything we talked about, what would be the best way for them to get a hold of
you? Instagram is where I reside most of the time. You can find me on Instagram. You can send me questions there, or send me an email at fathersebastiaan@gmail.com. Remember, it's an IAAN.
Yes, IAAN.
And the biggest event that we run is actually becoming Los Angeles. The LA Vampire Ball is probably the biggest event that I have on the docket. The New Orleans Vampire Ball is the longest event. It's 4 days. Starts on a Thursday and ends on a Tuesday. No, ends on a Sunday. And there's just like, so this year we have the Theater of the Vampires in Paris, which is May 11th. We have Babylon on April 12th coming up. Babylon's our local event that happens every quarter. It's a vampire salon. And then June 15th, we have the Tampa Vampire Ball. And September 21st, we have the Vampire Ball in Salem.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the Witches Ball on October 13th for Patty Negri's birthday. Keep that date locked down.
Cool.
And then on the 2nd of November, we have the New Orleans Vampire Ball weekend. And we are going to be on November 2nd because Taylor Swift has come the weekend before that we normally do the event. And we can't compete against Taylor Swift. She's a vampire in her own way.
Yeah, a billionaire vampire who can take over the whole city.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the best way for her to leave. And then, because there'll still be a lot of people there. So that's cool.
Oh, no, we're selling tickets fine. Tickets are selling like nuts.
That'll be fun. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I love talking about this stuff, and I really want to get the notifications of the books out there so people can really start understanding what's going on with this whole thing and embrace it and become part of it. We'd love to see more people showing up at these events. Looking forward to every one of them, and hopefully get to see you soon.
Don't forget, the New Orleans Vampire Ball and the LA Vampire Ball sell out. So get your tickets early.
That's right. The last one was amazing. I love that place.
Yeah, the Mayan here and down in Los Angeles is the perfect venue for the Vampire Ball.
Totally. It was like From Dusk to Dawn, which is another one of my favorite movies.
I can't believe I left that off the list of.
Yeah, I just thought about what am I talking about? God, I love that movie.
But it's only a vampire movie for the last 10 minutes.
But what incredible 10 minutes, though. I mean,
I know, right?
So great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Man.
You should get Danny Trujillo to come be a bartender at one of them.
I already tried.
That'd be great. You never know. He might say yes sometime. That'd be cool.
Cool.
All right, Father Sebastiaan, thank you so much. And we will see you next time right here on My Darkest Hour.
Take care, buddy.
You too. So that's going to be it for this episode of My Darkest Hour. It's been my great pleasure to have Father Sebastiaan come on the show and talk about the Endless Night, the Vampire Balls, the whole culture that he started. He is truly an authority, and I'm very thankful to have him as a friend where I can embrace my inner vampire as well and just continue to enjoy what we do. So with that being said, make sure you go to fathersebastiaan.com. Make sure you go to vamporium.shop and see the things that are available. And and you can always drop us a line if you have any questions or want to send us any comments. Please do so. You can email me at mydarkesthourradio@gmail.com. If you like the content that we're doing on the show here, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, because we're always putting these new episodes out, and we want everyone to be on top of our guests so they can see all the different things that we're doing out there, whether it's the paranormal, whether it's vampires, whether it's ghost hunting, UFOs. We're trying to cover as much as we can and bring those people who have the best experience onto the show that can bring that to us and, maybe show us some things, talk a bit more about their experiences, and share their stories with the rest of you. So with that being said, we'll see you guys next time right here on My Darkest Hour. And if you guys are going to go out and do some more investigating, please do so safely as best you can. And we will see you guys next time right here on My Darkest Hour.